Lifting heavier, faster, or more often does not have to turn your joints into squeaky, grinding disaster zones. Yet somehow, every gym is filled with guys banging out 225 on the bench with the shoulder stability of a wet noodle, thinking tendinitis is a badge of honor. Progressive overload is the engine of strength and hypertrophy, but it's also the reason half of gym goers leave in pain and not gains. You can get stronger, more resilient, and even bigger without destroying your connective tissue, but it requires understanding how the body adapts, respecting joint mechanics, and using smart progression strategy. So today, we're going to be dissecting the science of progressive overload, the different methods you can use, how to apply them safely, and why long-term sustainability is more important than ego-driven PRs. Feel free to drop a comment of what's the most ridiculous joint killing habit you've seen at your gym. Progressive overload is simple in theory. Gradually increase the stress of your muscles to stimulate the growth and adaptation. The stress can come from weight, volume, intensity, frequency, or even range of motion. But let's be clear. Progressive overload is not swinging a barbell around like a medieval torture device and hoping the pain goes away. Connective tissue adapts slower than muscle. Ligaments, tendons, cartilage, they do respond to stress, but over weeks, months, and not days. Force applied too quickly, too often, or at awkward angles will lead to injuries. Studies from the Journal of Strength and Conditioning show that joint stress is cumulative, and repetitive overload without proper recovery is the number one driver of tendinopathy and osteoarthritis in lifters. There are different ways to apply overload. 1. Increase load. Add weight, but do it progressively. Think 2.5 to 5% jumps per week, not 50 pounds because you saw a guy in gym do it. Or you can increase reps. Adding a rep or two per set can stimulate adaptation without spiking joint pain dramatically. Next thing you do, increase sets. More total volume spreads the load, but watch cumulative fatigue. You can also increase frequency. More sessions per week can help it if intensity and recovery are managed. And then the fifth and final way to apply overload is increase range of motion. Going deeper recruits more muscle fibers, improves joint health, but it also requires mobility and gradual progression. The takeaway on this is progressive overload is a tool, not a punishment. Use it intelligently and your attendants will write a strongly worded complaint letter. Now, increasing weight seems obvious, but that's actually where most people fail. Jumping from 100 to 150 pounds in a week isn't strength, it's usually stupidity with barbells. Remember, tendon stiffness adapts slowly. Collagen turnover in tendons is measured in months, not days. Overloading too quickly causes microtrauma, inflammation, and eventually chronic pain. And that's why programs like linear progression work for beginners. They move slowly and can let connective tissue catch up. Other smart overload methods are things like microloading. You're looking at adding small increments over time, like 1 to 2.5% per week. It sounds boring, but it's very safe, effective, and builds longevity. Then you have tempo manipulation, slow eccentric, explosive concentric, reduces joint shear while stressed to the muscles. You also can do cluster sets, breaking a set into mini sets, allowing heavier loads while accumulating joint fatigue. And then you can do partial range of motion for heavier lifts. Training lockout strength in bench or squat partially reduces joint stress while still overloading muscles. Yes, partial range of motion looks goofy, but no, it's not cheating. And yes, your ego will scream, deal with it. Remember, joints are not muscles. Muscle respond to overload in days, joints adapt in months. Treat them like adults who need notice, not toddlers who can handle explosive chaos. Another place people wreck their joints is chasing high reps like it's a circus stunt. Joint compression and shear forces increase with reps under heavy load. We're looking at you, CrossFit, especially at extremes of your range of motion. Doing 20 reps of heavy squats with poor form is a fast track to knee pain. So ideally, your progression should follow a set of different strategies. 1. Reps for hypertrophy. 6 to 15 reps is ideal for most. You can add 1 to 2 reps per week before increasing load. Then you have reps for strength. 1 to 5 reps with careful attention to form. Strength gains come from heavy load, not reckless advantage. Then you have sets. More isn't always better. 3 to 5 sets per movement are sufficient for beginners and intermediate. Advanced lifters can scale gradually. And then you have density progression. Reducing rest intervals can increase metabolic stress without increasing load, but monitor fatigue carefully. Incremental progression in reps and sets protects joints while stimulating muscles. You don't need to go full barbarian to see gains. Then we have range of motion and mobility. This is where most gym bros fail spectacularly. They either go partial range of motion because they're lazy or ego driven, or go too deep with terrible mobility, destroying knees, shoulders, and pride. Optimal range of motion is joint friendly and muscle engaging. Science shows full range of motion strength training improves flexibility, tendon health, and muscle recruitment. But there's a catch. You must earn that range of motion progressively. Static stretching, mobility drills, warm up sets. For example, squat depth. Shallow squats reduce knee and hip stress initially, but limit muscle engagement. Full squats increase glute and quad recruitment, but only if hip and ankle mobility is supported. If you overload full range of motion prematurely, you'll lead to joint apocalypse. Trying to force full range of motion with bad mobility is like trying to fold a king size mattress into a gym bag. It's painful, frustrating, and ultimately very ineffective. Match your range of motion to your mobility and progression stage. Over time, your joints will strengthen, tissues adapt, and you'll move like a machine instead of a rusty lever. Finally, frequency and recovery. People think more is better. Newsflash, your muscles, tendons, and joints are not immortal. Recovery is where adaptation happens. Overload frequency depends on three factors: training intensity. Heavy lifts require longer recovery. 2. Exercise selection. Compound lifts stress joints more than isolation movements, meaning more recovery too. Third thing, individual variability. Age, joint history, mobility, they all affect recovery. Tendon adaptation occurs slower than muscular hypertrophy. A single high volume or heavy session can generate micro trauma that requires 48 to 72 hours of rest for remodeling. Repeatedly ignoring this is like sanding a piece of wood every day and expecting it not to splinter. Split training intelligently. Alternate pushing, pulling, lower body, and accessory work. Incorporate mobility, foam rolling, and active recovery. Sleep matters more than your pre workout. If your idea of progressive overload is doing squats, deadlifts, and bench every day while praying to Broden, your joints are probably filing restraining orders right now. Remember, progressive overload is about longevity, not short term ego gratification. The people who lift heavy today and walk tomorrow without joint pain are doing it smarter, not luckier. You can get stronger, bigger, and more durable without destroying your joints. If you respect science, use smart progression strategies, and check your ego at the door. Microloads, proper reps, sets, earned range of motion, and recovery are your allies. Drop a comment below. What's the dumbest joint killing move you've seen in the gym? Let's laugh, learn, and call out mistakes together.